This is Matthew Kratter's Bitcoin University. Today I want to talk a little bit more about BlackRock, Bitcoin, FUD, and forks. And for those of you who don't know, FUD just stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and refers to when people have existential questions about Bitcoin. This is a follow-up to yesterday's video in which I discussed BlackRock's supposed plans to take over Bitcoin by buying up Bitcoin mining companies, buying up lots of Bitcoin itself, wielding influence over Bitcoin devs, and possibly even attempting to change the 21 million max supply cap. So I'll put a link to that in the description notes below. A lot of comments that I wanted to address from that video. First one from Built Nutrition Fitness. BlackRock takes over everything. My response, tell me you learned nothing from this video. So it's important to watch a video if you're going to comment on it. Next comment, so you work for BlackRock. My response, nope, never have, never will. Not being paid by anyone. I work for Bitcoin. Next question, next comment. Well, we know BlackRock is part of the establishment wanting to ruin Bitcoin as it's a threat to their fiat and future CBDC. Comparing BlackRock taking over the diaper industry and Bitcoin is just silly. They want money from every industry, but from Bitcoin, they want control over it and to ruin it. My response, the whole point of the video is that it's impossible for BlackRock to seize control of Bitcoin, even if they wanted to. And then a good comment here from Hugo Miller. I seem to remember that ExxonMobil were planning to expand their drilling operations. Then BlackRock appointed a bunch of greenies, i.e. ESG people, to the board and got them to reverse course and reduce drilling operations instead. I think there's no room for complacency where BlackRock is concerned. And of course, we should never be complacent. But as I point out in my response, this is true, but ExxonMobil is a centralized corporation with a board and CEO who can be influenced and pressured. It's not a globally distributed protocol without a leader like Bitcoin is. It's much more difficult to take over something like Bitcoin, and I would maintain it's impossible. Next question from Slack Dark. Could BlackRock pressure the miners to censor Bitcoin transactions? That would be one way to discourage self-custody. My response, yes, they could do that, but the transactions would still get included in a block by miners elsewhere in the world if BlackRock were exerting control over just a few publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies. These transactions would be picked up by a mining pool or solo miner somewhere else in the world. The next comment is extra special because here Toby Cummins manages to do what few have been able to do, which is to roll all Bitcoin FUD up into one comment. He only missed out on a few things, as we'll see. So he writes in, yes, they are. In other words, BlackRock is coming to control Bitcoin, and they're going to dump once ma and pa investors jump in, leading to an overall distrust in cryptocurrency, paving the way for government CBDCs as the savior. Bitcoin is a Trojan horse. It is a utility-less Ponzi scheme. There's absolutely nothing that makes it special. It's not even fungible. Driven by printed tether with zero accountability. 21 million, that doesn't make it special. Countless coins have limited supply. Yet that's all the Bitcoin maxis can harp on about. The next dummy buys at a price higher than the guy who bought before him. Those holding the bags are the losers, and that'll be the masses once the insanely corrupt media drive them into it. This is quite a compilation of FUD that I've been debunking on the channel for about 5 years. This person could have just looked it up if they wanted to. My response, you forgot to mention that Bitcoin is bad for the environment. It's going to get quantum hacked, which we'll talk about later this week. It's used chiefly by drug dealers, Russians, and North Koreans, and that the US is going to ban it. These are all great reasons why you should continue to store your wealth in fiat, in US dollars, and in shiny yellow rocks. As a follow-up to that, if you ever have any Bitcoin questions, one way to use my channel as a research is you can go to the home page, and there's a search button here where you can look up keywords. So for example, when he says Bitcoin doesn't have any utility, you can go here and type in utility or type in quantum or type in something like that. And I have thousands of videos at this point. If you're finding this particular video helpful so far, though, I just ask you to help to support this channel's mission. Hit the subscribe button. That really does help the channel. Leave a like, comment, question, suggestion for future video, and share this video with a friend or family member. Another follow-up comment, this view is naive about BlackRock not being able to control Bitcoin. This person, Dozen Gaming 8604, says BlackRock has power over the machine manufacturers like Antminer, obviously referring to Bitmain, and the mining rig, the ASIC manufacturer, the largest one out of China. And he goes on to write, you don't have to be a genius to know what all these dots combined could mean in several years. In other words, the fact that one large company makes most of the ASICs and that the fact that it's in China. My response, does BlackRock really have power over a CCP-controlled Chinese company like Bitmain? Do they have control? And this is even more important. Do they have this magical control? Does BlackRock have control over all the ASICs, all the mining rigs that Bitmain has already built and shipped and are now sitting in the hands of these people who are mining Bitcoin? I don't think China has control over that. They could possibly do something with the firmware, but if you saw the firmware was malfunctioning and not enforcing consensus rules or not mining the right way or not mining successfully, you could just turn it off. And so I think this is just more FUD. And there are people who are doing something to try to counteract this. Jack Dorsey, for example, trying to build ASICs and mining chips in the US. So that's quite encouraging. So we're not completely relying on Chinese manufacturing. So that's part of that bigger trend towards reshoring in the US. Next question. Of course, BlackRock could send out their goon squad. This is strange to think that asset gathering firm somehow has a squad or an army. Of course, BlackRock or BlackRot could send out their goon squad to knock off the node operators till they capitulate. Then BlackRock gets what it wants. My response, node operators, these are people who run the Bitcoin software. Like myself, node operators are found all over the world in every country on earth, and many of them run nodes over Tor, so no one knows their physical location. But it's impractical. You can't send someone to all of these different households, all these different buildings, all over the world on every continent. This is the map of all the reachable Bitcoin nodes. And then up here we have the number of nodes, estimated number of nodes over Tor, for example. John Drake, 3472, his comment, you said something very interesting. Why would anyone that doesn't have Bitcoin run a node? Why indeed? Would it be possible for a nefarious actor to set up 100,000 or so nodes, Bitcoin nodes, and take over consensus or control? It wouldn't be that costly for an alphabet agency like the CIA to get it done. What's the remedy here? A fork? My technical understanding is rudimentary. And if you were running nodes, if you want to spin up a lot of nodes, it wouldn't even cost that much if you could buy Raspberry Pis or something like this. You could do it for under $1 million. But here's the thing, Bitcoin is not a democracy. It's not ruled by the majority vote of Bitcoin nodes. It's more like deciding whether you want to play chess or whether you want to play checkers. And these are two different games. If you're running the same Bitcoin software as other people, then you're on the same blockchain and the same network. If you're running different software, you forked yourself off to a new network with a blockchain that may have a shared history up until a certain point with the old blockchain, but then diverges. So if BlackRock or the US government or the CCP or some other hostile actor decides to spin up 1 million Bitcoin nodes, and we Bitcoiners continue to run just 20,000, 40,000, 60,000 nodes, it really doesn't matter because we'll still be playing chess. We'll have no desire to join BlackRock at checkers. They will be on their own network and their own blockchain. Now, the topic of Bitcoin forks, which is what this really is about, is complex, it's nuanced, as is the discussion surrounding Bitcoin consensus. And I think this would be an interesting area to explore a little bit further. But I'll leave you today with just one cool teaser. If BlackRock were to hard fork Bitcoin, as people seem so concerned about, and you were holding your own keys, controlling your own Bitcoin, then you would be able to get an equal amount of BlackRock Bitcoin, we'll call it BBTC, on the other chain. You would be able to get an equal amount of BlackRock on the other chain, probably by signing a message to prove control of one of those Bitcoin addresses. So if you had 10 Bitcoin before, now you would still have that 10 Bitcoin on the original chain, plus you would have 10 additional BBTC or BlackRock BTC on the new chain, on the fork chain, and then it would be up to you to decide what to do next. You could do nothing. You could be agnostic and hodl both the 10 BTC and the 10 BBTC, or you could dump the 10 BlackRock BTC for 10 real BTC, assuming the exchange rate remained 1-to-1. That way you would end up with 20 BTC. So this is not the end of the world. If we were to have a fork like this, it would be very, very chaotic. But this is one understanding of it, that there would be a way possibly to double your holdings of BTC. And it's just really this economic voting that is one way that hodlers and node runners can influence the future of the protocol by selling the coin or the side of the fork that you think will lose and buying the coin that you think will win. It's not just theoretical. This actually happened in 2017 when Bcash forked away from Bitcoin and then began its sharp descent into the hill of irrelevance. This is a chart of Bitcoin Cash. Bcash versus BTC, the real Bitcoin. And we can see here, as the chart moves down, that means real Bitcoin is outperforming Bcash. Bcash has been a complete disaster since the fork and has faded into irrelevance. And another reason I bring this up is because Roger Ver seems to be making the rounds. I guess he just did an interview with Tucker Carlson. I have a response to Roger, this video from earlier this year called Bitcoin and Big Blockheads. And Roger found it interesting enough that he actually recorded a video responding to me. And I think he was a little bit annoyed with me. And one of the sad or interesting things is after he published this video, just a few days afterwards, he was arrested and is now in jail. And I'm certainly not going to gloat about that, but it looks like he did not pay his exit tax. So be careful with this guy. If you listen to the Tucker interview, maybe I'll listen to it and provide a response. But you also have to remember that Roger kept some very bad company indeed, hanging out with Craig Wright and originally telling everyone that he was Satoshi. Craig Wright, complete scammer. Here's Roger Ver on the right side of this picture. And so this is an example of a fork in Bitcoin's history. And Roger making the tour today and talking about how Bitcoin was hijacked and all this nonsense. He was actually on the losing side of the war. And he was wrong about his take on Bitcoin. That was just supposed to be a PayPal 2.0. So he's fairly bitter about this, and you have to take that into context. And you have to realize what happened with his project and the amount of damage he tried to do to Bitcoin. And so I would not give him too much sympathy, though again, I have no wish for him to be in the custody in a British jail or a US jail. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the subscribe and like buttons. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.